Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about that subject of the observer and the observed, and the fact that the mind goes into perceiving what we are looking at rather than just staying with what we are looking at and be with the actuality of what we're doing rather than going in the consciousness, in the memory, and find something that would describe what we're actually looking at. So, in turn, the observer, the watcher, the consciousness, gets into the act and interferes with what we are actually trying to be one with, what we are observing, what we are watching. So, it takes us away from what we are watching into another time, into our memory, via the memory, the thought will do, and we tend to separate and move away from what we are doing, what we are watching, to in our memory and perceive it based on the information and the experiences and the knowledge we have in the memory versus what is happening. Now, we've discussed that in detail in some of the video, but I want to talk to you a little bit about if we could understand a little bit more from a different angle why it happens that way. Why there's a tendency for the mind to take us into the memory and start perceiving what we are watching, what we are observing, instead of staying with the actuality of what we are looking at, noticing, paying attention to, observing. So for that, I want to give you an example of, so maybe I can illustrate it this way. You know how when you're watching a television program, and this television program, it's a sitcom, it's a series, it's some kind of a soap opera or story, but it is a rerun. It's not a premiere one, it's not a new one. It's a rerun that you've already seen it. And when you're watching one of these segments that you've already seen it, it's a rerun being rebroadcasted, your mind tend to think and to be at ease because it knows what's about to happen. Even though you know you've seen it and you know what's going to be happening, but your mind still stays with the progress of the program, and it doesn't jump ahead in its memory as it has information about what's about to happen. Even if it does go a little bit forward, our mind quickly comes back and stays with what's being broadcasted at the point of progress of the program, rather than saying, oh, I know what it is, and moves further ahead and expects things and focuses on what's going to be coming. Even though it does know what's coming, it stays with the points and the progress of the broadcast. Why do you think that is? And yet, when you are watching something that you don't know, it's the first time you're watching it, or if you're doing some kind of a study of some kind that you don't understand it, you don't have much interest in that subject, your mind starts going all over the place and goes into your memory, tries to perceive what you're looking at, tries to guess what's going to be happening in the program that you don't know what's coming, or the subject that you're reading, it just starts daydreaming or not interest, loses focus. Why do you think that is? If you think about it and actually experience it, you will see that happens. Well, when the mind knows what's about to happen, it has a sense of security. It's not freaked out. It knows this program is progressing this way. It knows what's going to be happening. So it's at ease, and it stays with the progress of the show, even though it knows how the show ended up, how it progressed, because you've seen it before. But because of that knowledge that it knows what's about to happen or what will happen, how this progresses, it feels secure. There's no threat for it. It doesn't jump around trying to find solutions. It knows it's already been taken care of. When there's a subject that you don't understand it, well, it feels insecure because he has no knowledge of what this is saying. And it is programmed to understand things. And when it doesn't understand, whether it's not interested, it starts going around different places, starts going into memory, thinking about other things, or whether it just doesn't understand it, still goes into memory or tries to daydream. It goes off just somewhere that it feels he knows what's happening. It's in the field of the known. It rests there because he knows how things are there. He has knowledge of it, and he doesn't feel threatened or insecure. Because knowledge brings security. Through that knowledge, knowing brings psychological security. So when it knows what's happening, it's relaxed. When it doesn't know what's happening or has no interest in paying attention to what you're reading or what's happening, then it starts looking around, thinking about other things that he knows of. And then through that knowing, feels safe and secure in a way and settled. And that's basically also because the mind doesn't have a place in the body to rest and wait. So when it doesn't understand something, or when it feels threatened by not knowing what's happening, or has no interest of what you're reading or what you're doing, then it seems the same as not understanding it when it doesn't have an interest. So in that way, he feels insecure and tries to go and conjure up things that he knows about and then rest there because he feels secure with the knowledge of knowing how things are wherever it goes, which it goes into your memory. And so that is the reason that mind flies around, because it has no place in the body. You see, your fingers have a place to be. Your thumb is here, fingers here, nose is here, ears are here, your eyes there. Even though you don't touch them, you know exactly where they are. But the mind doesn't have a place in the body. It's not been told or trained that this is where you rest, this is where you wait for me to call upon you. So my hand is right here. If I want to shake hand with someone, I just know where it is. I don't look at it, just bring my hand up and shake hand. The mind doesn't have a place in the body, just like other parts of the body, to be there. No, it's my home, it's my place. So what it does, it moves around because it has no, it's like a gypsy. It goes from here to there, has no particular home. And in one of my books, Me, My Psyche and I have discussed this in detail, how you can give mind a home and where the home should be. But in the meantime, I want you to kind of ponder on what I said and see that what I said actually does happen to you when you're watching a program and you know you have seen this program before. You stay focused on it and you pay full attention to it very relaxedly, and you see it again even though you know exactly what's going to be happening. But when it's the first time you see something, you may try to figure out what's happening, so you kind of deviate from it. Or if something that you're reading and you don't understand it, your mind goes somewhere else and goes to the memory, tries to perceive it, try to make it up something, or just totally goes a different subject and moves itself away from what it doesn't understand or is not interested in, and goes somewhere that it does understand and feels safe and secure and relaxed in the memory by knowing how things are and feels calm about it. That's why the same thing happens when we are looking at something, that when the perception comes to the picture, because the mind simply hasn't been trained to stay on what you want it to do, it keeps going to in the memory to find somewhere that reflects what you're seeing rather than staying with what you're seeing, and be with the actuality, be with what life is happening at that moment, and simply flies away by itself until it's trained. And if you pay full attention and train your mind to stay on what you're observing, then the observer and the observed always become one, stay together, and the mind will not fly away into the memory, which would be a different time and different subject, and you will be perceiving instead of observing. Something to ponder, and hopefully we'll talk about it more a bit later on.